And you're seeing it like when she gets to her safe place, it's when she kind of explodes, with her safe people, with this safe place. And she's like, I can finally breathe.
Hey squirrels, welcome to AVHD, where ADHD isn't some clinical diagnosis, it's just life. I'm AV, your always honest tour guide through this beautiful mess. Over here, we're not about fixing yourself. We're about figuring out how to actually enjoy your life as you are. So grab a snack and let's go. Hey squirrels, welcome back to AVHD, where we talk about neurodivergence, real life, and the tools that actually help us navigate both. Today, I'm joined by Dalisse Sequeiros, an autistic mother, author, and advocate, and the co-founder of Loving Pieces Books. Dalisse and her husband created a children's book series inspired by their lived experience, raising their autistic sons. And their books are designed to help autistic children see themselves reflected in stories, while also helping parents, educators, and communities better understand the sensory worlds, emotions, and experiences of neurodivergent kids. This conversation today is going to be about representation, parenting, lived experience, and why the right story can sometimes explain more than 1,000 parenting manuals. So, Lisa, I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm so excited to thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me the space to talk to you and to talk to your audience too. I'm very
Thank
grateful.
you so much. So, squirrels, just jump in with me for a second and imagine you're not going to have to imagine very hard, but imagine growing up and never seeing a character in a story who experiences the world the way you do. Not your sensory world, not your emotions, not your struggles, not your strengths. And even the way that most people normally talk about something, it just doesn't really fit for you. It doesn't feel true. That's the reality for most autistic kids, many autistic kids. Today, we're talking about what happens when a child finally sees themselves in a story. So, Dalisse, before we dive into the books, which are amazing, can you tell us a little bit about your family and how the journey began?
Yeah, well, the books are about my two kids. They're both autistic. So my oldest, his name is Adrián, and he's actually turning 12 on Saturday. So we got a birthday boy coming up, a preteen. That's going to be exciting. So, and I have my youngest who is 5. His name is Guillermo, and they're both autistic. I've known they're autistic since they were very young. Like Adrian was diagnosed at 17 months old. So it was kind of obvious that something was going on. We didn't have the wording, the diagnosis at the beginning, but at the end, we got the autism diagnosis for both. And yeah, like he's 12 years old. So we've been in therapies and going through this autism experience for a while now. And due to the similarities that saw myself with them, with the things they did, it also reminded me like some things that I did as a young child. And I just, I knew before I got my official diagnosis that I was autistic too. So we're a family of 3 autistic kids, 2 autistic kids, 1 adult, and my neurotypical husband, which that bless his soul.
God bless him for sure. At what point did you start realizing that the resources that were available to you on the journey didn't match the reality that you were living?
Yeah, so there are a lot of books that talk about autism. So there are a lot of clinical books like written by PhDs, a lot of books about maybe talking to therapists about different programs and ways to handle different situations, no? And the kids book that we usually found, they were talking like more about explaining others that they're autistic. But we didn't find one that actually told my kid, like, "You're gonna feel this way when this happens to you. You might do this, you might do that." And we created one. So the first book that we created it came out of nowhere. Like, we didn't have a plan to create children's book at all. Like, I have a background in digital marketing, and I'm very savvy with Canva and with Photoshop and all that. And I was like writing a social story for my oldest because he is very visual. And we do have a lot of social stories throughout the years. We usually doodle different social situations in our day to day, like this is going to happen to you. And we kind of draw it for him. One of his therapists actually taught us how to do it. And then was like, let's just write a book. Why can't we just write a book? So, but we had no experience writing books at all. We just had the experience of actually living what we were going to write about. So that's how our first book came to be, which is a story about a birthday party, about Adrián attending a birthday party. And I just wanted him to be prepared about what he was going to find in the birthday scenarios, who's going to be there, what's going to happen, where's it going to be, how long is it going to last? Because he needs the details. Like he needs to know what, where, how, when exactly, you know. And at the time, I even gave him like, hey, if it's raining, we can't go to the park. So the party might get transferred to another location. So we kind of anticipate everything for him because that gives him a lot of security. So I wanted a book that actually helped us as parents anticipate them. Like this is going to happen. It might not always happen as the book says it will happen, no, but it gives that conversation starters for parents just to initiate the conversations. And I also try to add in like real things that happen, you know, like my kids need their alone time during social events, for example. So I wanted to them to feel okay by taking that time to actually saying like, I need a break. I'm going to take my break. I don't know how long I'm going to be out, but then I'm going to come back if I can, you know? So just to empower them in a very positive but real way. So we didn't want to romanticize it too. Like, I know things can go wrong, but things can go right, you know?
And it's all about
So
control and even just kind of being aware of what the different options could be, right? So my daughter yesterday came
yeah.
home after an all day long play practice. So they had noon dismissal yesterday, and then she was there until 3:30 running through the play that she's going to be in. And when she came home, she was understandably very exhausted and did not like noise was difficult and it had been a long day. And I asked her, "Hey, do you think you're especially exhausted today because going through the play has a lot of hullabaloo and uncertainty and things like changing?" And she was like, "I don't know." I was like, "All right, cool." I left it. 2 minutes later, she said, "You know what's really frustrating about practicing the play is that we will go through a scene and then they make a bunch of changes and then we have to do all of the changes and then we have to run through it again and they're constantly changing things." That conversation was so important for us because I saw her. I see that you're overwhelmed. I know you had a very sensory day. I am an adult who has the resources to put those two things together and connect the dots in my mind between those two things. And now I can offer it to you so that maybe next time you can also connect the dots when you start to feel that way in that type of situation. Oh, they're making a lot of changes. That's really difficult for me. Maybe I need a break, some time, whatever. But even putting the option on the table opens up a huge
Yeah,
market.
definitely. And just by talking about it, I think she felt like a relief, you know, like, okay, I can talk about these things. They're not going to judge me. They're listening. Like, I can talk openly about what's happening, like in my body, you
Yeah,
know?
because if I don't know what's going on, then I don't know what's going on. But you and I are adults who have had the opportunity to figure ourselves out a little bit. And one of the things that I really loved when we spoke earlier about the books is that they don't just teach kids. They almost teach the adults around them how to support them. Was that intentional?
Yes, it was. You know why? Because when we started this journey, a lot of the things that we learned the most were from other parents, that they were like further along the road. And we really got like into this online community where we actually connected with other parents who were going through the same things. So when we did the book, we're like, we have to write this for parents too. Like we have all this knowledge in that we have gained through experience and through our day to day, that if we could just try to give a little bit back to the same way that we received it when we were starting. Like when you get the diagnosis for autism, it's very overwhelming. Like as a parent, you don't know what to read, what to do. It's like like this thunderstorm around you, you know? And if you have somebody who has gone maybe a similar path, because not all the paths are the same, each child is different, each parent is different. Even I am a different mom to Adrian than and Guillermo, you know? So I was like, if this can just help one parent, I am more than grateful for it. And that's why we added the tips for parents, because most of the people, I think when we started with Luis, because we co-write it together, we were like, we're doing something that is not out there, because or it's a child's book, a children's book, or it's an adult book. And we kind of merged both of them, you know? And we're like, but this is a book that the parents have to read with the kids. So when they read the kids section, they can just move along whenever they have time, whenever they have strength, whenever they feel mentally okay for it, because it's very hard sometimes to be reading about something so close to you, you know? We were like, okay, we were self-publishing anyway, so we made up our own rules anyways. And we went ahead. And not only that, but we said, like, we cannot fit everything into the book. So we created also like a lot of resources out of the books, and it's free. You can, like, all the parents can just go into our web and download whatever they need. We wish to have like a tree and information there, but we can just go as our time and resources let us know. And that's how the first book came to be. And we had so much feedback from other parents. At the time, I was working digital marketing projects. My husband was full time in a big corporation, and we were like, "Let's start everything.
I'm not doing this anymore.
This is gonna be something like not only for us, but you know, when you do something that really impacts other people, it kind of fills you up. I don't know how to explain it. No? And we're like, we got savings. Why don't we do another book? And we do it about something that is like in our day, in every autistic kid at some point. And that's when the book about meltdowns came to life, because it's one of the biggest pain points, I'm going to say, for autistic parents, how to deal with meltdowns, that they can look very different from one kid to another, but it's going to happen. And that's how the second book came to be. And if you see, the first book is more like a story, and the second one is more like almost
Yeah,
like
it's
a
like a
guide.
chapter book. I did it to dad, and he was like it's in chapters. Relax. Oh, okay.
So this happened because of all the feedback of other parents. Like,
Sure.
they were like, "Yeah, the books are good, but they're really long, and the attention span of my kid is not that lengthy." So I'm like, Why don't we divide it by chapters?" And Miss was like, "But the kids' book aren't usually doing by chapters." And I'm like, "Who cares? This works for our kids." So that's how we divided it by chapters. And it was a super good idea, because maybe you need a chapter that explains about sensory overwhelm. So you go to that chapter specifically that day, you know? Like if you read the story, you know, like where the chapters are, you got an index that helps you find the specific ideas for each of the chapters. So it's been a
Hearing
journey.
you, I'm thinking back to my oldest when she was like 2 and 3 years old. I have always said she's autistic. And the pushback that I have gotten is massive because people think that I'm telling you that she's disabled. That's not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you that this is a hyper intelligent human. She has a super high IQ and these traits that align with the autism spectrum, these traits and characteristics. So when she was little, she would have these meltdowns. We used to call them lose-its. She would have lose-its, and they were tremendous. They were huge. And the amount of critique that I got from that, like, hello, your kid is freaking out. And I'm like, I know she's freaking out. But then I would say, I think she's autistic. And people would be like, no, don't, you can't talk about your kid like that. Blah, 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 blah. And it was just such a strange push and pull because I knew that something was happening there that was out of the norm for children. Children have temper tantrums.
Yeah.
They don't melt down consistently 5 to 10 times a day surrounding consistent activities in a very overwhelmed way. They just don't. When I'm telling you my kid is autistic and you're looking at me and saying, no, they're not, but they do have a lot of meltdowns, I'm like, what do you want from me?
I don't know why they always dismiss us as parents, you know? Like, we know our kid better than anybody else. Like, why don't they just listen to us? Like, they're always like, "No, don't tag her. Just wait a little while. She'll grow out of it." Or it's like, and it's so common, you know, when you hear stories like you're telling me right now, it's like, why does it happen? Why don't they take more into consideration what we are telling them? Like, our intuition is right, like something is wrong because we are living it every single day. The doctor that looks at you once a month at the most, It's not gonna understand what happens in your day-to-day life when you close the door and you're only you and your child, you know?
When she was 3 years old, she was in a kindergarten class or a nursery class, and in Israel, the classes have, like, 30 to 35 kids. A lot of kids. And her teacher had music playing all day, background music all day long. She would get home, she would be perfect at school. Perfect, get everything done, not a problem, model student, she was totally fine. They couldn't get her to eat the normal meals, and then they would call me in because they're like, normally when kids come and everyone else is eating different food, they start eating different food too. But instead, all of the other children have started eating only plain pasta, like your daughter. She's a very influential foal. I don't know what to
Yeah.
tell you.
He was a trendsetter.
Come home. And from the second she stepped in, she would just freak out. If anyone talked to her, even in a whisper, she would freak out. And I told people, I
Yeah.
really think that it's almost like she's absorbing too much sound during the day. And then when she gets home, she can't handle sound anymore. Every
Yeah.
single person told me that that was not a thing. And I was insane.
And you're seeing it, like, when she gets to her safe place, it's when she kinda explodes, you know, with her safe people, with a safe place, and she's like, "I can finally breathe."
I'm like, this person is drowning in
Yeah.
noise. You can't tell me that's normal.
Yeah.
We have to help her.
Yeah.
And if we're not helping her, we're
And
ignoring her.
I bet that the more you dig and think about all these things, you're gonna have, like, a list, like, a big list. Like, why was I dismissed here and here and here and here and here? And then another word that I've been trying to unlearn is the "I'm sorry" word. Like, as a parent, we say "I'm sorry," like, I don't know how many times a day, at least I do, like, "I'm sorry to the teachers. I'm sorry to the other parents." Like, "I know, I'm sorry, I'm thinking about that." Like, "Yeah, sorry, ugh,
No,
I hate it.
if there is a party that's gonna be good for my kid, it's gonna be good for all of your kids, right? If it's adapted to my child, it will be adapted to your child as well.
Yes, and most of the things, my youngest it was the first day that he was gonna go to a camping trip,
Mm.
and we've been anticipating that trip forever now, like, today's the first night, I don't know how it's gonna go, but I'm gonna think it's gonna go well. And when we were talking with Lisa, it was like, every kid could benefit from this, like, just anticipating and visually explaining what's gonna happen, where you're gonna go, what are the activities that are gonna happen, who are you going to sleep with, you know, and, like, a lot of things that we apply to our neurodivergent kids, it could really be very beneficial to every single kid in the world, you know?
Forget
It doesn't matter how your brain is wired.
forget about children is that if you don't teach them something specifically, they're gonna learn it
Mm,
however they learn it. So we have a lot of assumptions about what people should know or should learn or should pick up on their own. But a child doesn't know anything. They will know what you teach them, right? And it's a great way to keep
mhm.
all your children safe. If you have a neurotypical child who's going on a camping trip, there's safety things. You're going to be in a space without maybe your safest adults, with other people around. Maybe it's dark, maybe it's woods, maybe it's sleeping on the ground, maybe you don't know that you have to wipe after you go to the bathroom in the woods. I don't know. There's lots of things that you might not know.
Yeah.
And if you teach intentionally, you're giving yourself as the parent the opportunity to be the teacher
Yeah.
as opposed to leaving it like wide open and who knows who's going to teach your child what.
Yeah. It's almost like studying for a test, you know? Like, if you're just kinda know the questions, a little bit of the answers, you have more confidence in that you're gonna get a grade, at least a passing note, you know? But if you just go not with your whatever, you don't come prepared.
Right.
That's the word.
And we were talking about how so many resources that exist is are very clinical, they're very overwhelming. When I saw your book about travel or your book about it's really about your emotional backpack, but it's there's we were talking about travel and traveling with autistic children and I'm not sure if that's the next book that's coming out. Okay, so
That's the
teaser.
next book, yeah.
But we were talking about that because I had just gone to the library and I was looking for a book about traveling with neurodivergent kids. And the only book I found was like 500 pages in the world's tiniest font. There was no way. Like, I'm autistic too. I'm not reading that. That's not happening. What do parents actually need to understand that these clinical, overwhelming books tend to miss.
Yeah, I mean, if you're studying autism like in a professional level, those books are great. But if you're like a parent, you are already running on low energy, low time, and you're not going to understand like half of the concepts that are there. Like even to learn the language of that they use in clinical books, it's very complicated. All the acronyms, all the different big words, how I say it, it's very hard. Like the books that for me work the best are the ones that they explain to me almost if I was like 5 years old, like, okay, you have to do this and this and this. And if this doesn't work, maybe try this and this and this. And I remember there was this program that our therapist suggested to Luis and I, which it was called the Hannon program. And it explained to us, like if we were kids almost, like very visually, how to talk to your kid, like go down to their level, try to make eye contact so you don't become this huge figure in front of them. And the way that book, even though it was a clinical book, it was written very simple with simple words. But just to hear you about that travel book of I don't know how many pages, that already gave me a tick in the eye. Like, I'm not gonna read that. But I think it's very important to kinda understand the perspective as a parent that you don't have a lot of time, to be honest. Like, you're already dealing with a lot of things, not only related to the neurodivergent of your kid, but your own. And then you have also also like a wife, you're a friend, you have a full-time job as well to take care of. So I don't know, maybe simplifying things, I think it's the best way to go when you are getting resources as a parent. Like the simpler and the more practical, the better. And that's why like there are a lot of resources out there created by other parents that they actually help us a lot, for different reasons, for different times in your lives too. Like right now I was looking for things for the teenage years that I'm not there yet. And I was like, I need to get like ahead of my game in this because I don't know what's coming up. And I found a lot of resources from other parents that they create. Even if it's a video, sometimes it's even easier to digest than a textbook. I don't know if I answered your question.
Absolutely. If I could be a little spicy for a second, it's the process of reclaiming your lived experience from the clinical definition. It's the same exact experience of people telling me my kid isn't autistic. My lived experience matters. Your lived experience matters. Possibly, and I mean, I would confidently say definitely more than the clinical advice because we overestimate
Yeah.
how much clinical knowledge we actually have. We don't know anything because we have only just expanded the definition of autism to include low support needs autism. So you've never
Yeah.
even listened. If you've only interacted with nonverbal autistic people, you probably don't communicate with them very well. So you have no idea as a clinician what is going on in their lived experience. The closest person who knows is the parent, and you're likely to share similar neurodivergencies with your child.
Yeah. So you have more empathy and you understand them better. It's like I was like that. Like I'm not gonna do the same thing to you. Like, and the other thing that really bothers me too, which maybe it's something personal, the way they address autistic kids in those books, it's more like an example.
Here's why we have to be nice.
Yeah, very personal.
We have to be inclusive of all the children. Even if Peter is rocking back and forth in a corner and he's wearing headphones and he's weird, we still have to be nice to him. No, that person has a very rich internal life. If you're a person who is like has a lot of imagination and you sit down with Peter and you bring your Legos and you and Peter both like Legos, you can play Legos together without ever talking and have a beautiful, rewarding experience for the both of you.
Yes.
But because we automatically, societally put Peter, the autistic boy rocking back and forth in the corner, as lower than
Yeah.
the neurotypical child who's able to interact in a standard way, we're missing the beauty and the richness of that person's internal world.
Yes. I totally agree with that. You know, one of the things that I'm also grateful for, I'm living in a space, in a place where autism is not like a taboo. It's not something that it's whispered or something that's been hidden. And for example, my experiences with school has been also great. Like they tell me up straight, like, we're going to work with what your kid knows and how to do it. And then we'll work from there. And it's been so almost like a relief. And at the same time, I feel like guilt because I know it's not the same experience for everybody. I know I'm going to say like maybe I won the lottery, in at least at school. And I know my kid is not at school to be part of a lesson, or he's not there to be just to fill up a number like, we have this X amount of inclusive students. And I think that should be more in the way it should be everywhere, because I have friends, I have even family members who are not having the same experience. And it makes me really sad. Like it just gives more visibility to the injustice of not having this everywhere.
Privilege is so integrated in the way that we can care for people with neurodivergencies, any kind of neurodiversity. So again, like I have low support need children. So they are, like myself, fairly low support needs, meaning I was able to compensate and mask my whole life. Did I end up burnt out, angry, and in bed at 30? 100%. But my environment didn't suffer me as much as they could have.
I don't know if you agree with me, but sometimes they think that even because it's a low support, that sometimes they don't need support. That's like the worst thing ever.
Really horrible.
And you know what happened? That this is also a hidden disability. Like they see your kid and they see a regular kid. But once they really, really, really look into what's going on, they see, okay, there's something else going on here. And yes, of course, a low need kid is going to understand, it's going to go having this back and forth conversation. But they also have their own things. And as a parent, you can also suffer the same way as a level 2 or 3. And of course, I can only talk, my kids are both level 2. Guillermo is nonverbal at the moment. He's starting to talk at them now. And Adrián info dumps. He info dumps everything. And
He wants. What's he interested in right now?
trains and maps. And he is interested about South Park because it's prohibited.
Love it. You could tell him I'm Canadian. You met a Canadian today, and when I talk, my jaw stays attached to my face. Let him know.
Yeah, no problem. And what you were telling me about your girl about rules, I don't know if it happens to you, but when I tell him something, it's like you wrote it in stone, like you cannot change that anymore.
You could never change it. And that flexibility is a characteristic of autism. It doesn't mean that he's an inflexible person or that my daughter is an inflexible person who can never get anything done. No, no. We have information about ourselves that helps us help ourselves, advocate for ourselves, and helps us get the support we need from our environment. But first, you need to believe me when I tell you that my skin feels like it's falling off of my body right now. Even if I'm not screaming and waving my hands, I'm communicating to you that I am in physical pain in my body. That's not enough for you. I don't really know where to go from there.
Yeah. And this is why I wanted to represent also in the books. Like, how can you feel like, let me show you. You see how all of the images are like very illustrated. They're handmade, by the way. We got a review the other day in Amazon and they were telling me, I know that your illustrations are done AI. And I was like, because I always see the positive things of side of things. And I was like, oh my God, they're so good. You think an AI did this? And my husband was like, what are you talking about? We should definitely say tell Amazon that this was not an AI. But like they shouldn't feel bad about wanting to poke or not knowing what's going on in their bodies. So this is one of the things why I wanted to represent not only the good things, but also the not so good things. So they don't feel guilty about being like that. Like Adrián, I remember the last meltdown he had, it was hard. He started throwing everything and hitting, and now he's a big boy.
Scarier when they get
I,
bigger.
I couldn't even hold him. Luckily, my husband was there, and together, because he hadn't had a meltdown in, oof, I don't even remember when the last one before that was. And I was like, and he told me, Mom, I'm having a meltdown. And in the rush of everything, and I'm like, you had the words for it. Like he was hitting me, and I was like, oh my God, you had the words for it. And I just felt like I don't know. Sometimes I don't even know how to feel, but I just want every kid to know that it's okay if you feel that way. Sometimes maybe you do something different, and just trying to portray like what it really looks like and feels like.
Well, what message does a child internalize when they never see themselves represented in stories? What do they internalize about themselves if they don't even exist?
Well, that's when they're masking and they try to mask the neurotypical peers. And this brings in another conversation about your own self esteem and your own personalities when you're trying to just imitate what other people are doing. Uh, and that's actually one of the books where we talk about masking, in a very child way, no? And we tell Adrián that the mask, that one, yeah. We tell Adrián that the mask has different rules, no? Like rule number one, always smile when you're like in group works, or always say yes when an adult tells you to. And of course, we cannot explain everything in the book, but it opens up conversations, like, because most our kids are always like, by rules, no, I have to be happy all the time. And I'm like, no, you don't have to be happy all the time. We also try to show them by doing it ourselves. Like I tell Adrian, like, hey, Adrian, I'm feeling sad today, and it's okay to feel sad. And he's like, Mom, no, because he only likes Mom to be happy, And he's like, Mom, no, you have to be happy. And I'm like, no, today I feel sad, and it's okay. I'm gonna take my time, and I usually take that as a almost like a explanation time. I can't even be sad just being sad. I have to take that moment and explain. Like I'm gonna take advantage of it.
Because everything is fine. And it's again, it's the reframing of typical doesn't mean normal. Typical just means most people are like that.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
okay.
yeah. And with the rates that are going on with neurodivergence, usually we're gonna be the typical ones.
I can't wait. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great because I think as people gain more access to their mind and more access to their consciousness, they'll become more neurodivergent. Neurotypical just means that we're accessing 10% of our brains. If you're accessing more than 10% of your brain, you're some kind of neurodivergent. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, there's so much to learn about this. This is like unknown territory almost. Like the other day, I was reminding myself, like, even though Guillermo can't speak, he's nonverbal at the moment, he understands everything. So I treat him as if he's talking back to me. Like the other day, I was in Instagram, and there was this teenager that he started speaking up until like 8 years old or something. And he said that one of the saddest things that had happened to him that he remembers is that he thought he was answering back when people talked to him, but he wasn't. He was just thinking about it. And that really hit home with me. And I'm like, I'm going to be talking all day, every day to Guillermo. And you know what? He understands me. Like when I tell him, hey, Guillermo, go do this, go do that, he goes and he does it in his own way, no? But he does it. So that really, I really kept that in my mind. And you see, like we learn from other neurodivergent, not only parents, but other kids too, like they help me understand what my kid is going through with what's happening now, not only what I remember too. Because what I remember, unfortunately, my mother didn't have the tools to guide me better, like I was just diagnosed as with dyslexia. How do I say
Yeah,
it?
dyslexia. The Y is just you.
And that was it, like, okay, that's it. So I cannot even take my own experience because I wasn't given the tools at the time. I just learned it. How? I don't know. Like, I don't even know my some things, I'm not a numbers person. I'm just a creative letter person. And I struggled at school a lot. Like, I even dream about math. I don't like math. And my oldest, he's the other way around. He's thinking about numbers, and he's like multiplying and dividing and subtracting and adding, and memorizing every single date of all the historic people in the world was so. And I'm like, okay.
History is we're not friends at all. I can't remember say like what comes first and what comes second. It's just I don't.
Yeah. I'm bad with like birthdays. I can't do birthdays. I always forget them. I don't forget my kid's birthday because I have a party to plan and that stresses me a little bit. But if it wasn't because of the party, I think I would even forget it. But I forget things. I thought our podcast was yesterday. I emailed Miss and those. Oh yeah, I'm glad I'm here.
If there's a parent listening today and they can take one message from your work, what do you want them to remember?
From my work or from my experience in general?
Both the experience that you chose to put forward in your work, like your books, your everything. If they could pick one,
Yeah,
though,
I think just I would tell them to take one day at a time because today is what you have to work with, you know? Like yesterday, it could have happened one way or another, and tomorrow you don't know. So just take one day at a time and just think about that the best possible outcome is going to come out of whatever it is that you're doing. And if it's not the best outcome, tomorrow is going to be a new day. You're going to have a brand new opportunity to try it again because that's the only thing you can do. Try.
I also love that you said tomorrow's a new day because often people say tomorrow's a better day. And I always say tomorrow is a different day. New chance, new opportunity. I can't guarantee you anything, but it is a new shot.
Mm-mm. It's a new day. The sun is going to come out and you're going to rise and shine with it. And I'm being all poetic, but it's true. Yeah, yeah. And with the books, I think I poured all my love and try to give other parents a little bit of hope and a little bit of borrowed light, I'm going to say. So if they don't feel like the sun is shining so much on them, they can just borrow mine for the day.
I love that.
Yeah.
Elise, thank you so much for being here and for the work that you're doing. What I love about Loving Pieces books is that they're not just stories, they're tools for connection, helping autistic children feel recognized while helping the adults around them understand their experiences with more empathy, more clarity. So, Squirrels, if you would like to learn more about Dalisse and her work, you can find Loving Pieces books at lovingpiecesbooks.com. Follow them on Instagram at Loving Pieces Books. And if this episode resonated with you, consider sharing it with a parent, with an educator, with a caregiver who's trying their best to support a neurodivergent child. And as always, thank you, Squirrels, for being here and for listening. And I will see you next time.
Bye.